Okay, this time it's working. It's not taking the pictures, it's just taking movies. I get too upset. I've been working so. No, I would say I'm not. I haven't been working hard enough on this. I let my emotions get the better of me, and I get angry, and I say things that I shouldn't. But you know what? I've noticed I'm tired of apologizing in this culture. I think that I've been won over to the other side now as far as free speech goes. This whole political correctness thing that's I mean, obviously the government can't arrest you for saying vile and offensive things. And I'm pretty sure it shouldn't, not unless you're advocating violence or spewing death threats, which I tend to avoid because I think I can understand that that can lead to fighting words or incitement. But saying you don't like someone, and I think the problem was like with the transgender thing, and if they censor this video, God damn it, God damn it, I'm just, what is wrong with our society? With corporation, these corporations have just, for some reason, either they've been taken over or they pander. They're so intimidated by the far left idea. See, this is the thing. I and there are people that have this view too. It's kind of this weird meshing. And please don't accuse me of being a fascist, because why would a fascist be advocating for free speech? I don't agree with the word you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Anything can be construed about as hate speech. Reading aloud from the Bible can be construed as hate speech. Trust me, there are things in the Bible that I would not read out loud because they're not. I don't agree with them, and they're not politically correct. But yeah, see, this is coming back to bite me in the ass. I now that I'm calm, I don't hate transgender people. They can be what they want. They can make their own choices. I don't like that it's being pushed in the school. I can understand if you got kids why that would bother you, and you don't want it taught in school. Do I think that all the censorship that's going on in the Republicans, because I'm not a Republican, states is warranted or desirable? I have trouble with that. All the anti-trans policies, I think they might go too far. But at the same time, I think society's gone too far. Like for example, in Sweden, they don't do this stuff anymore. This whole transgender, I don't know if you call it a craze or a movement or whatever, because there were drag queens when I was a kid, but it wasn't like a movement to get your kids fixed or whatever. They don't do that in Sweden anymore. They started it. I don't know if they encouraged it, but they felt it was a sensitive thing to do. They realized after looking at the scientific input, that the scientific observations, that this is not a good thing. This is not benefiting anybody. Suicide rates don't go down after the sex change. What do you call it? The transition or whatever. It goes up. People. It doesn't fix the depression because these people are mentally ill. They need help, and maybe they were mistreated. And I listen to a lot of gay people, and I think I fit in that category. Not that I'm gay, but I listen to them and I agree with them. Or the women, it's like the old left or the old liberals that say, "Look, I'm a feminist. I really find this whole transgender thing. They're not real women, and they're disparaging, the problems that women have in society, and the whole sports thing. It puts them in a disadvantage. It's, oh, look at me, pay attention to me. I'm a girl." It's like, no, I was born this way. I've got women's problems. I've had to deal with oppression and persecution, and now you're what do they call it? Cultural appropriation. I think the whole transgender thing is turning into gender appropriation, and I don't want to say anything, although I do have a little problem. I think the whole um, smash the patriarchy thing has gone too far too. But I'm a lot more sympathetic to feminism than I am to this transgender thing. I'm a lot more sympathetic to the normal gay people. I don't consider homosexuals abnormal. I don't even consider abnormal that they want to get married. the whole transgender thing, I think it should never be done for cosmetic or because you have a feeling. I mean, usually you're born with confused gonads or something. Or there's really something physically and psychologically amiss. But now it's kind of like a fad. Because I lived in San Francisco for years. I don't think that you choose to be gay. It's something you have in you, as long as you're not molesting kids. And I also knew a lot of gay people, and they're not all child molesters. I think, in fact, I think most child molesters you'll find in the church or in the Boy Scouts or whatever, or the football, these football coaches or whatever. I don't know what causes it, but to blame it on the gays is wrong. And also, I think this transgender thing um, victimizes gay people too. I remember this one guy talking. He said, "If I would have been born today, they would have tried to get me a sex change operation. They would have tried to transition me and tell me, oh, you're really secretly a woman." He says, "I'm happy the way I am, as happy as I can be. I'm a gay man. Maybe I'm a little effeminate. I'm a little effeminate. Believe it or not, I try real hard to make myself a lot more butch. But actually, if you know me, people have come up to me and said, you're gay. And, I'm a closet case and all these things. I don't know. I was in San Francisco on Halloween a couple times. I dressed it up as a woman. I thought that was kind of like fun. I didn't see anything objectionable to it. I don't want to grow tits or have my wee wee cut off. I just think it's gone too far with this. It's like a craze. It's like society's been turned upside down. It's like year zero in Cambodia or something like that. The Swedes stopped doing it because they realized that it wasn't necessary and it wasn't benefiting anybody. And these hormones that you shoot into these people's bodies, it ruins the marrow of their bones. It's going to take 10 or 15 years off their life. Um, Sometimes the surgery can leave open sores and infections. This is all unknown. It was all unknown, and it's uncharted territory, and people are making a lot of money off of it. But it's. I don't think it's really. I mean, there's some people I think might be happier a guy being a girl or a girl being a guy. I think it's so rare, and it's being pushed, and it's become like a fad now, and that's wrong. So I'm not even neutral. I'm saying, you've gone far enough. This whole transgender thing is just nuts. It's nuts. I don't hate you. I don't wish you any violence. But I think I have the right to say it's actually I was agnostic and then almost an atheist, but I'm just so sickened by what I see in society today with all the drug addiction and perversion that I'm thinking I don't want to become a religious fanatic. I think society needs to go back a little bit more traditional. I'm not talking about um, big pictures of well, Jesus is better than Hitler, but I mean, I'm not talking about like a totalitarian society or like Middle Ages where they used to burn witches at the stake or anything like that, or women staying at home and having babies. I'm just saying, turn the clock back to when was I happy? The turn of the 21st century seemed to be a little bit more sane to me. I'm not talking about, and I'll be honest with you, I'm not really a conservative. I mean, I was disturbed as anybody about the abortion bans that are going on. I think overturning Roe v. Wade was a terrible, terrible mistake. But I think one of the reasons is people are reacting. The identity the gay left or whatever, the gender identity bullshit has pushed its crazy agenda so far. And I think a lot of liberals don't go along with this wackadoodle stuff. They're just afraid to open their. I'm an old man dying anyway, so I'm just going to say it. It's wackadoodle. It's nuts. It's gone too far. At the very least, you should be able to discuss it. And you can't. That's why everything's gone out of control, and why you've got this crazy reaction where people want to ban drag shows and you can't talk about sex. Well, you know what? You shouldn't be talking about sex or critical race theory in kindergarten. These kids should be learning skills so they can go to work. Why have they turned these public schools into indoctrination factories? If the parents don't want this, they shouldn't have it. It should be democratic. It should be up to the parents, not to a bunch of leftist agitators that decided to become primary school teachers. That's not good. You've got to respect what the parents want. Again, I don't hate the transgender people. I think they should have their drag shows and their lifestyles, but I don't think that this should be pushed on the general public. And I don't think, and I kind of do think that the fact that it's not that I think that transgender people are freaks of nature. What I really think it is freakish, the freak of nature comment, I think, which is probably gone now, was meant is I think it is freakish and wrong to get so infuriated and to ruin people's jobs simply because they disagree with you. If you're so sensitive and you're so violent in your brain, you're such a zealot, not a religious zealot, but like a identity politics zealot, that you have to silence your opposition, you're a freak of nature. Well, no, actually, that's very normal for people to do, but it's sad. You're sick in the head if you can't you're so unable to defend your position that you have to fly into an emotional, crazy rage and start threatening people. Really, it proves you're wrong. Basically, you can't come up with a rational argument, and the science is against you because the cutting edge. Pardon the pun, but if the cutting edge of this movement or the technology was started in Sweden, and they don't do it anymore. They realize they're looking at the data, and they realized that it's another failed social experiment. It went nowhere. It's just a dead end. It was some utopian thing that they thought, oh well, we'll fix everybody in society. Yeah, you'll fix them all right. You're taking a bunch of gay kids and mutilating and neutering them. If you're gay, that's fine. I don't hate you. All I'm saying is that I don't think it's in your best interest to go out and get a sex change and shoot yourself full of hormones. Just be happy the way you are. Be a lesbian. Be a gay person, and you don't have to go getting yourself sex changed because they don't have the surgery down. They don't have the hormones down. You can never really be a woman. You can't poop out babies. You can never really be a man. You can never ejaculate sperm, and that's the way God or nature, whatever's controlling things, or maybe nothing's controlling things. I don't know. Whatever. Let's say evolution. Evolution made men, and we do have a stronger upper body strength to impregnate women. Women nurture, and men go out and build things, and they also destroy things. We build the hut, and then we burn down somebody else's hut when we get mad at them or we want their land. We're wonderful and we're terrible all at the same time. I agree, men do terrible things. We should learn to get along. But this whole, I'm most concerned about the free speech aspect. That if you say anything offensive to these people, that they're so sensitive. And we've taken the most mentally unstable and unhappy people in society and put them on a pedestal. George Floyd, who was a crack addict or whatever, who put a shotgun to a pregnant woman's stomach, and this woman was African American. We take the dregs of society and we put them up on a pedestal. And it's wrong. Okay, you know what? Our society's made some mistakes. But the whole attitude of going, shame on you, white people. First of all, you're going to drag society down because that's not constructive. Maybe the people that built things and invented things and built the roads, the bridges, and the railroads, we did bad things. We mistreated people. But to say that we've never done anything good, like discover a cure for polio or smallpox or indoor toilets or running water or the steam engine or all the million things that you enjoy, that everybody enjoys in the world, that food, people used to starve because in nature food won't, insecticides. I mean, of course, they can poison you if you don't wash it off the food. But insecticides means that we can actually feed most of the people in the world now, or genetically modified foods. You just look at the bad, and you're going to drag society down because you're holding up on a pedestal people that don't produce anything. All they do is produce problems. And instead of helping, working together to solve these problems, it's like you want society to fall apart. Look at all these drug addicts living on the streets of Portland and San Francisco, and these mobs of, and it's not just minorities. You see spoiled white kids doing it too. It's It's like you take not the people, the majority of the poor people that are trying to lift, by their own labor, lift themselves up. You're making heroes out of the carjackers and the rapists and the drug dealers instead of the ones that go to work every day, which is 95% of the minority community. Um, I'm sure there are people that genuinely need the transgender stuff. Um, I think it's a very small minority. But to push this on kids so that they'll never be able to have kids, or that men participate in female sports, they could hurt the women. And women didn't used to be allowed to even that's not for it's not ladylike to play basketball or baseball or even swim. I guess you had to do ballet or maybe dancing, maybe just knit. I don't know. Women weren't allowed to be physical. It's just for guys. And women said, "Well, I want to do that too." I said, "Well, you can't run." Of course, I can run. I can run fast. Maybe not as fast as a guy, but it's good for my health and my brain, and it gives me self confidence. Women, doing the cheerleading, and they play. I don't think women play football, do they? They play. They might play soccer or lacrosse. Maybe they play football. I don't know. They can if they want to. Who would want to? It's such a rough sport. But they got the basketball leagues and everything, like the ladies' basketball leagues and stuff. And that makes them feel good. They enjoy it. It gives them solidarity and gives them confidence. They can make some money. But if you got to compete against some guy that's had tits surgically attached to him and his wee wee cut off, or maybe even he's still got his wee wee and he's got his body full of hormones, he's gonna beat the women. I mean, that's just reality. Okay, let's just stick with that. I'm not inferior. Women are better at some things like communicating and diffusing, and you got to get along. It's not all two goats on a hill beating their heads together to see who gets the mate. Sometimes you just need. There's too much testosterone in a room, and a lot of times in the business world, they find if there's one woman in the room, everybody puts their dicks back in their pants in the pissing the pissing contest. What do you call it when it's a metaphor. Men don't actually take their wieners out and see who could piss the farthest. Can't do they? I've heard stories, but I don't think they actually do. The men get in the pissing contest. My dick is bigger. One woman in the room. Now, come on, boys. Let's all be adults and settle down. It has and you need people to work together. They can't always be, fist fighting like they're in a barroom brawl or whatever. Sometimes that's good. So if men and women could work together and play on each other's strengths, and women have certain strengths, and men have certain strengths, and they could, work together. Why does it always have to be a competition? Why does everybody always have to be at war with each other? Why can't we learn to just get along? And you've got these two extremes, the left wing and the right wing, always trying to kill each other. Let me take this. Hello? Yeah, who is this? Well, it depends. Are you a real person or are you a recording? You're a real person, is that right? All right. Listen to me very carefully. I'm very sympathetic to your cause, all right? I just paid my heating bill and my electricity bill. It was $500. I have no money. If you could wait a couple months till like spring when it's not 7 degrees out and my heating bill and it goes down a little bit before the electricity bill goes up because of air conditioning, I could send you out some money, but I can't do it this month. I am flat. I was lucky that I could even pay the bills this month. You understand? Are you listening to me or are you recording? I said I have no money. Yeah, that wasn't even a person. See, that's the thing. Push, push, push. How do I even know any of the money would go to the breast cancer thing? It's like nobody's sincere anymore. Everything's a business. Everything's to make money. It's like this whole sex change thing. There's a lot of money in that industry, and it's like encourage people to go out and do this, even though it might not benefit them. That's that's just wrong. It's crazy. And the fact that we've got this society where people are so, and I'm guilty of this too, because I get upset and I say, "Oh, that person should be silenced." I think we've got way too. That's just revolutions eat their young, and now I'm beginning to realize, that'll apply to you, buddy boy. You're the one that's getting silenced now. I'm still relatively populist or left wing on economic issues. When I see these guys going on strike, the union guys, I say, yeah, finally, the working people of this country are and I don't blame them, but they're fighting back because they've taken such a beating from, well, I hate to say capitalism, but from the managerial classes or from these big corporations and the billionaires that are the same neoliberal billionaires that are pushing all this identity politics bullshit. Like, you're watching a show, and it's like 1 week the family's white, and they're just like white bread, and then the next they've got a gay neighbor, which is fine. Gay neighbors are fine, and then one of the kids black, and the mother turns into an Asian. That's fine too. That everybody be represented, but in a realistic way. You don't all of a sudden have blended families. Most families are like mono-racial or mono-ethnic. Everybody's Italian, or well, maybe I mean, white ethnicities kind of intermix, and then you have mixed marriages, which is fine. I don't think it should be discouraged. I don't know if the government should encourage it, but people should be able to do whatever they want to do, and they should be accepted. That's fine. And if you got a gay couple living next door, especially if they're hot lesbians, that'd be great. That's fine. But what I don't think is that you should have like a social engineering experiment where everything you see on TV is all of a sudden families are all mixed up, and there's a gay professor, and it's just like artificial. It's just like, and then are they gonna make James Bond a transgender female? Is that real? I mean, this whole thing has just gotten out of control. You know what I mean? It's like if they made James Bond a black woman, I would be fine. But it looks like they're turning Doctor Who into a transgender man. It's like, how you're pushing this shit too far, man. You just gone a little bit wackadoodle with this crap, and it makes people angry. And you can't even use the term freak of nature, which, I mean, obviously, I won't apologize for that. The freak of nature part is that you won't allow anyone to say that you're not normal, and this isn't normal. You're mentally ill. I mean, obviously, this if your suicide rate is 10 times above the normal, I don't think it's right that people pick on you. And the problem is, who's going to pay for all this shit? I mean, there are little black kids in the ghetto with leukemia, and little old ladies that need hernia operations on the bottom of their feet. They're like me. I've got diabetes. What about all these poor people that need their insulin? Who's going to pay for it? There should be priorities. You want to be a girl? Well, fine. Put a dress on. Pay for it yourself. Or maybe just learn to be an effeminate man. There's nothing wrong with that. But why do you have to spend $50,000 or $100,000 on surgery that's going to require you to take hormones for the rest of your life? Those hormones eat away at your bones. You check the scientific evidence. They don't do well in your body. They toxify your body. They make your body feel funny. They'll erode your bones. They'll take 10, 15. It's worse than smoking, much worse than smoking. And it's going to ruin the quality of your life, and it's going to also reduce your life expectancy. It's nuts. It's nuts that anybody would do that, even think of doing that. And it's child abuse to think of doing it to a child. If they really feel that way, then they can wait till they're 18 or 20 and they're going to commit suicide. Well, if they're that weak, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But if they're that close to suicide, having their genitals mutilated and pumping them full of hormones, do you think that's going to make them any less suicidal? I don't think so. I mean, people making fun of them. It's like it's Orwellian. You want to completely turn society upside down and then be the thought police, and no one can criticize it. And more than the thing, which I'm not against, I think the thing I'm really angry about is the lack of individual liberty. The fact that you want to do what you want to do and you don't want anybody to disagree. You want force everybody to consider it normal. There are a lot of people out there that don't like homosexuality. I don't give a shit. You be you. There are a lot of people out there that don't like feminism. I think I'm kind of for it because I kind of agree that women kind of were, oh my God, the way women were treated. They weren't even allowed to vote 100 years, well, maybe 100 years ago, but they've only been allowed to vote for 100 years, their own property. Women have been treated like shit for a long time, That's wrong. And gay people, if you want to be gay, I mean, look what they did to that guy like someone, Oscar Wilde. They threw him in jail. That just about killed him. That wasn't right. And he kind of dressed up like a girl, but that's fine. He didn't get his. I mean, he didn't get his wackadoodle cut off. I mean, the whole surgery thing's been around. I think for maybe 70 years, maybe. I mean, was it Glenn or Glenda? I don't know. Oh, I started writing a little more on my a new one called "Zombie Vampire Yuppies from Planet Mars," and it's going to go back in history to the '80s to when this writer first became famous and made a screenplay, like one of those old '80s B movies that was kind of parodying the cheap '50s science fiction. But I wasn't alive in the '50s. I was alive in the '80s, so I think I know that period of time better. Zombie yuppie vampires from planet Mars. Um, so you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of saying I'm sorry because I offended you. I'm not sorry about this. I'm not trying to wish you ill or advocate violence against you. I'm just saying that you're the one that's being violent to people who disagree with you, and we've got to do more to stop the repression of different ideas. I sometimes am like this too. I'm just as guilty. Like, people say they're against abortion. What are you going to do? Arrest people for saying they're against abortion? See, that's the thing. Okay, I think it should be legal and people should mind their own business. But in a free society, people have to be free to say, I think it's murder and I want it banned. I don't think it's anybody's business, really. Really, it's just like if that's illegal in your religion, or if you're a guy and you're against abortion, you know what? Don't have an abortion. You don't have to even worry about it because you can't get pregnant. So it's none of your fucking business. Okay, it really isn't, and it's really nothing. It's not your business to tell gay people or transgender people what to do. But on the same token, and not so much with the feminists, although they can be a little annoying with the smash the patriarchy thing, and banning porn. I mean, there are fascist elements. I'm going to just use authoritarian elements in every extreme organization. The people on the other end, the extreme of all this gender politics bullshit, that want to silence anybody that says, "Now wait a minute, just wait a minute, you're not a real woman," and you're not, obviously. And it's crazy that you try to make people accept that. You're not. You're a man that has been pumped through full of hormones and had tits grown on you, and it's so crazy in the head that you think that makes you a woman. If it would make you feel better to have a woman's body and pretend that you're a woman because that's how you identify, I don't get it, but maybe if that genuinely makes you happy, it rarely does as an adult, because there are a lot of people that get those sex change things, and they're just they're just fucking miserable. And then people try to silence them because it's like, oh, you're hurting the movement. You made a mistake. It's another failed social experiment. But do I think the government should start locking transgender people up? No, 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 no. Obviously, no. You do you. You be you. My only advice would be that you should stay out of public schools and stop pushing this stuff and trying to make. It's almost like you're trying to turn everybody into a transgender freak. Not that you're a freak, but I think it's what I'm saying is, and I should probably word this better, is the part that's freakish is not that you want to have a sex change and be a woman. Although that to me, I'm just that's weird. I don't get it. But you do you. The part that's freakish and makes me angry is the real freak of nature aspect to it is that you want to turn everybody else in the world into a drag queen. You really, I think there are people out there that do. I really do. Not saying all, but you get that they want to push this thing so hard, and that's who my anger is directed at. Not the people that just want to live their lives and be left alone, but the people that want to create a totalitarian identity thing. And it's weird because I'm left wing on well, I'm not left wing on economic issues. You put me in Europe, I'd probably be a social democrat, and social democrats are very centrist. But this country's just so right wing on economic issues too, that any sort of government program is seen as a communist conspiracy or some conspiracy to sap everybody of their incentive and make them dependent on the government and all this nonsense. The first welfare state was created by Otto von Bismarck. Modern welfare state, really. I know the Romans gave grain. Social security, health insurance, old age pensions. I guess that is social security, health insurance, disability, unemployment insurance. It's fairly comprehensive. This was started in the 1880s, 1880s in Germany. We got it about 50 years later. We were a little bit late in the scale, but Otto von Bismarck was the ironic thing was he was an old Lutheran aristocrat, and he was quite kind of reactionary. He did all these things to stop socialism, not to encourage it, ironically, and they called it state socialism or the revolution from above. And a lot of conservatives in Europe went along with this stuff. Americans have this like frontier mentality that the government should just stay out of everything, and I think that's a bit irrational. And with the violence, with the guns and everything, and yeah, it's caused a lot of problems in our society that we're just so averse to the government doing anything. But on the other hand, I'm beginning to see that you have a point as far. I don't know about guns. I think we need some kind of gun control, but I think instead of banning handguns or semi-automatic rifles or automatic weapons, what they do in places like Czechoslovakia or Switzerland is they make you get a license and go through a thorough background check to prove, or maybe take a training course. I don't know if they require a training course, but sometimes in order to pass the test, people voluntarily take training courses, or maybe they already know, so they don't need the training course. They just take the test. They want to make sure that you're not crazy, a drug addict, or a bank robber, or just a completely deranged maniac. And it seems to work well. The Czech Republic and Switzerland both have very low homicide rates, 1/10 of ours. I'm rambling again. I've been doing the Buddhist thing, and which is kind of sad that I slipped up again and made this comment. I shouldn't have done it. I'm very sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I guess. I guess the more I think about it, the more sorry I get that I slipped up, that I got angry, and I calmed down. See, this is the thing about the meditation. I'm supposed to calm down. I'm supposed to calm down. Take the medication. Be calm. Be calm. Serenity now. Serenity now. And then I don't. Then I feel I didn't really mean to say that. I don't really think that. I think what I was trying to say in a very, very wrong way, it came out totally wrong, is that it is dangerous and morally reprehensible. I mean, free speech was not created to protect popular notions. It was created to protect unpopular ideas. And I guess unpopular ideas now are that, whoa, wait a minute, this whole transgender thing is completely crazy. Obviously, you're not a real woman. And the fact that people are willing to have people arrested almost for saying what is obviously true, that's scary. That's deranged. Maybe freak. It's freakish. It really is. It's like Night of the Living Dead. It's like a nightmare society where everything's turned upside down. It's just nuts. How long have I been doing this? Okay, 35 minutes of this is enough. I'm sorry, not sorry. I'm really sorry, not sorry. I should be able to say what I said. Sometimes, this is the thing. Sometimes just because you're allowed to say something doesn't mean that you should say that. And I think that's what I'm saying here. I should have been allowed to say it, but I probably shouldn't have said it. There are better ways that it could have been put. Put your sunglasses back on. There are better ways to express what I said, and I said it in a very crude and vulgar way. Just because you're allowed to say something doesn't mean that you should. But what did they give me a 20? I guess they stuck me in a corner for 24 hours. Yeah, could be worse. It's not my site, but I think they're too. I think they're too they're erring on the side of caution. They've gone too far with the censorship stuff. Okay, people should be. I mean, people should be allowed to say ugly, bigoted things. I mean, I'm not approving that they said it. I don't even approve of some of the things I say. They said like a heat of an argument or like I'm having a bad moment. I really am. I'm just having a bad moment. I don't agree with a word I say, but I defend to the death my right to say it. How about that?